It's Tuesday, April 19th. Coming up live on The View. They're the hottest topics you can't afford to miss.
Let him show the birth certificate.
From whether Trump is trying to bully his way into the White House.
Next question, George.
To why some people want your favorite schoolyard games banned from the playground. And you won't believe what air traffic controllers were caught doing on the job this time. Plus, Robin Williams is going off on everything. From what he thinks of Trump's antics to William and Kate's wedding. And how he's getting wild on Broadway. Then, almost 100 million Americans suffer from digestive problems like heartburn, acid reflux, and irritable bowel syndrome. So the View MD's revealing which foods are the worst for your stomach and why just cooking your food can be a recipe for digestive disaster. All that, hot topics, and more coming up live on The View.
To The View. Now, before we get to hot topics, we have to bring out a very special guest whose epic story is one of towering proportions. He was born too slow to run with the herd, but rose above his diminutive stature to outpace those 10 times his size. And he turns 1 year old this week. Please welcome, escorted by his owner, Rachel Wagner, the smallest horse in the world, Einstein.
I know.
He is so extraordinary.
A loving horse.
We have a book, A Friend of Einstein. This is the smallest stallion. This is his life story. But ordinarily, I mean, you have to say sort of compared to who. What is his size compared to the average miniature? You used to have minis.
I used to have minis.
Yeah. So how much smaller is he than the average?
He's little.
Yeah.
He's really little. A normal miniature horse is about 30, 32 inches tall, and they weigh almost 300 pounds.
And
he weighs about 70 pounds.
That's all.
Oh, is he okay? Slippery.
70,
Yeah.
only 70
He's got
pounds.
tiny hooves.
Yeah.
He's got the smallest hooves
Yeah,
in the
that's
world.
The problem, yes.
So
Yeah.
wait, this was a surprise that he was this small, correct?
Absolutely, absolutely, Elizabeth. He was not planned. It's not really a good idea to try to breed tiny horses because you can get a lot of malformations. And you know, we were just really lucky. He was.
How long will he live?
He'll live about 40 years. He's a perfectly healthy little horse.
He's totally healthy.
But he had no friends.
He was too little. He had no friends.
He had no
Little
friends.
to
Tell
play
us
with
about it.
horses,
Yeah.
and horses are herd animals. So we had to scramble and try to figure out how to find a friend for him, and that's really what the book is about. We took photos of him meeting with other little animals.
Yes.
And he ended up finding
After a lot of searching,
yeah.
Einstein was lucky to find a friend right in his own backyard, and we want to welcome Einstein's best friend, sweet as can be, Lily the dog. You should see they are loving on each other now. Backstage, they have just been cuddling and nestling.
Right on schedule for the cameras. It's phenomenal.
This is just how they are. It's remarkable. And, you know, it's you and your husband, Charlie. Welcome, Charlie. You've written a book about Einstein's life called A Friend for Einstein that we have here. And we are so excited. My kids love it. They are in love with both Lily and Einstein. And our entire audience is getting a copy of the book to take home.
Getting the book, and we're getting the dog and the horse.
Thank you for visiting with
People
us.
always said this was a dog and pony show, so here we go. Thank you guys so much for coming and visiting with us. We love it. Bye, you guys.
friendship. It's so cute.
So let's get to some hot topics because stuff is burning. Oh, all right. Burning a hole in our brain. Donald Trump's interview on Good Morning America earlier is making a lot of noise, where a few times George Stephanopoulos could barely get a word in. Take a look.
He doesn't have a birth certificate, or he hasn't provided. He's given a certificate of live birth. It's a much different
certificate
instrument.
of live birth meets the standard of the
Not
State Department
the
for
same.
anyone's citizenship.
George.
There were contemporaneous reports in two
George, they
Hawaiian
have co-opted
newspapers
you.
given us. No, those are the facts,
George,
sir.
they've co-opted you.
Who's they?
It's not obviously Obama and his minions. They have co-opted you. A certificate of live birth is not the same thing by any
It
stretch
is
of
what
the
the State
imagination
Department
as a birth
recognizes as
certificate.
the standard of
George, it's so simple.
1961, two
Let
Honolulu
him, George,
newspapers.
let him show the birth certificate. Let's see what happens.
But you're the one
a
who's not leading
certificate
it
of
on.
live birth and a birth certificate are very
You
different
said that you have sent
instruments.
investigators to Hawaii, and you said, quote, they cannot believe what they're finding.
We're going
What
to
have they
see
found?
what happens,
What have they
George.
found?
Well, it's none of your business right now. We're going to see what happens.
Have they found anything?
We're going to see what happens.
What have they done?
We are going to see what happens.
When?
George, next question, George.
So wait a second. Does this mean that anybody who was born in Hawaii could never be president?
According to Donald Trump, that was what he's saying, because what is given in Hawaii and was given during the president's era when he was a little kid were live birth certificates.
Yeah,
you know, that's what they issued. A certificate of live birth in Hawaii. Right. That's what they give.
I'm still shocked that this is the issue that is being tossed around when there are so many other, in terms of economics, that we could be talking about.
He does talk about all that, too.
But this one, yes, he does. And in fairness, Donald Trump does talk about that. And he, you know, makes a great living, and that's great. And we've had him here, and he's fantastic when he's here. However, I think that this is the issue that takes precedence. I also find it interesting, dare I say, that if you were accusing someone of withholding some sort of information, then you cannot yourself withhold information. So if you have found something, then why are you withholding it from us if it's that important?
For the finale of Celebrity Apprentice.
There's no good reason.
I
don't understand.
I called George Stephanopoulos. By the way, as an interviewer, I have never seen anyone before. Donald, you got the chutzpah of the world.
He does.
Who says, you've been next question. I don't want to answer. Next, none of your business. You're an interviewer. Okay. So I called George. I said, so, you know, what did you think? And George said, after talking to him, I think he's more serious than ever. But he said he will face a lot of criticism, especially from Republicans, if he doesn't answer questions about what his investigation into Obama's birth certificate has uncovered. He says, I sent investigators. What did you find out? None of your business.
Right. Yeah, right.
But
he also says we should seize oil fields in Libya. What is he going to send in Gary Busey? I mean, how? And maybe Meatloaf and the two of them. I mean, how is he supposed to do that?
Well, and that was one of the questions that George asked him, because he said we would go in and take them, and George said, how?
Oh, but
how do you just go?
You know,
I would go look. I would talk to them. Yeah.
He said,
I would.
You and I do it to each other. I would look them right in the eye. Right? That's really going to scare them.
That's.
Well, he does seem to have some sort of convincing
We're
power,
still talking about him.
Well, because he's running very close to Romney as a front runner in the Republican ticket. You can't deny that.
Well, he's not on the Republican ticket yet, let's be clear.
But for people who would vote, likely voters in the Republican Party say they would vote for him in the same numbers as they would vote for Romney.
Is he going to release all his financial statements?
Well, I think I read that he wouldn't release his tax returns, but maybe you don't have to do that when you're running for president.
Actually, you do. You have to give them all the information that's there. And I also think it's very odd that you would question how this process is done by sort of saying, you know, everybody who believes that that birth certificate is legitimate is been co-opted. Does that mean that people who make sure that everyone who's running as an American citizen has been co-opted?
Well, I mean, look at me. I'm not. I would be in that co-opted category too, because I do believe he was born here, and I think you're putting, as a candidate, if you are indeed a potential candidate, you're really putting all of your eggs in one basket, because once someone finds out that he actually is, which he is, born in this country.
As Joy said, does that mean everybody in Hawaii?
Well, the mere fact that there is a question that the state is not part of the United States, I find insane.
I know. Well, it's
been
many years.
because Hawaii's been,
I think it was, what was it,
Again, I thought it was.
It's a distraction.
It was a state. There you go. That's what happens when you don't graduate from high school. We'll be right back with more Hot Topics. You may have heard this before, but we're here to reiterate that yet another Ohio air traffic controller was suspended for watching a movie on the job. He didn't realize his mic was on, transmitting the audio from the flick to the aircraft. Now, he was supposed to be monitoring everything, which also prevented, of course, those planes from getting in touch with him because he was all up in the movie. And I hear it was not a great movie.
Airplane, I hope.
So, but why
I demand to know what movie this
Alive,
was.
not that one.
Why is this happening now? The two of them fall asleep.
I think they're getting caught now, is what I think.
I think more people are. I think because people are. I think it's been happening the whole time, and we didn't know it.
It's like the priest scandal. You've caught one, and then it started to unravel and snowball.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. They caught one guy sleeping.
So now they're watching
and then
or
they're on top of it now.
There's, even though they're on top of it, you know, they put out a thing that said, "Listen, we're not having this anymore. There's going to be 2 people in it." So I just, you know, I'd appreciate if y'all would, like, not watch TV.
See, the thing about it...
Try to stay awake, because I'm in the air.
Exactly. Now, you know, Barbara, when I get on a plane, we're all in the air with these pilots. When I get on a plane, you know, there's a big joke around here. I go into the cockpit before I sit down. I say, "Hi, guys, everybody awake?" And I do. And they look at me like I have 2 heads, but they show me that they're awake. I can't do that with these guys.
Then she gives them a breathalyzer. It gets awkward at that point because
But
you
if
go in
you're-
there.
Cancel their Netflix subscription, #1.
If you're a person who does not fly and who has an issue with it, this does not make it any easier.
No.
And as a matter of fact, you know, it has prevented me from getting on a plane.
Really?
Yeah, I could have.
Before?
Well, you know, I was doing okay before.
Now this.
And now this has been a series of really bad mishaps to me because, you know, you can go into the pilot, you can look at the pilot, but you can't see who's in the damn tower.
The irony is that this is a watchtower, right? Essentially, that needs to be watched. So there needs to be now monitoring until the situation gets better.
Watcher for the
they need a camera
watchtower.
in there on them and like a buzzing seat to wake that
control
door up.
issue. You want to be, you can't be in control.
It's not even a control issue. It's do your job. Your job is not to watch TV. Well, let's hope so.
I would only like to say that when I travel with Joy, and she goes in and says, "Are you awake? And are you drinking? And is everything okay?" I say, "I don't know her."
That's because you're too drunk to notice, Barbara.
Now, Barbara, you've been doing some wonderful things, but, you know, it's being reported that NBC execs are scaling back their coverage of the upcoming royal wedding of Prince William and Kate Middleton, saying there's less of an interest in America than they thought. Now, I know you're in the midst of all of this.
Well, we had a special last night with a lot of information that people didn't know, which, by the way, did very well. And, you know, we were talking in the dressing room. You were not there about, people are getting bored with this. And NBC, by the way, was doing tons. Go ahead.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I just have to say, because I watched your special last night, I was on email with all of my friends. On Twitter, I had more feedback on Twitter than I think I've ever had. This is, I think, especially for my friends here, this is our real understanding of what this royal family is about. And I could watch, I mean, knowing that Kate Middleton let him go. She let the man that she loved go. To hopefully wishing that he came back.
You wore to hook up. You forgot that?
Her level of education.
She did not wear that.
See, to me, it's a high-class soap opera because I like Masterpiece Theater, upstairs, downstairs, and all that. And this is like that. You know, there's murder and mayhem in their past, and there's divorce, and then there's Camilla, and then the one who abdicated the throne in the 30s. It's very interesting soap opera material.
But, you know, I think it's also age. Just leaving my special aside, but 2 of the younger people, our producer and they came in. We didn't know this. Look what it's like to be a princess. I would like to be Kate Middleton. I think when you get older, I mean, this will be for me the 4th royal event I will have covered. One very sad, and that's the funeral of Diana. But I think who's sort of the I don't know, the shadow
She's
over
the
this.
spectre. She's the
I
spectre.
was looking for the word, and you're right. But I think for younger people, it still is
But, you know,
to be a princess.
Can I just say
For
that
us, you know,
Jerry Seinfeld was interviewed in the United Kingdom about this. It's very interesting. Bill found this, and he said that's why the British have the greatest theater in the world. You know, it's a big pretend thing. They love to dress up. They love to pretend. That's what the royal family is, a huge game of pretend. These aren't special people. It's fake outfits, fake phony hats and gowns. Okay, wait a minute. They did not like this at all over there. So this was a response from one of the people who presented something.
Who was the response from?
It's a response from prim and proper presenter Adrian Childs. It's like he was on a show.
Okay.
He was on a show in England. So he said, I'll join in on any of that stuff, and it's a Brit doing it, but I can't bear Americans criticizing the royal family. It turns me into a royalist. Well, I understand that. Number one, when I was in England doing stand-up one time, I did a joke about Prince Charles. Booze and silence. It's only till I brought out my Ronald Reagan material that I started killing. That they liked. And the same thing with the royals. You know, the royals, Americans, they don't like it when we go over there and say something against...
I know, but we've had comedians who've gone... Joan Rivers was a very good friend of Prince Charles, and she used to joke and
I think she doesn't make nasty jokes about him, though.
I wonder what Robin Williams has to say.
She made jokes about we'll ask him. We made jokes about the Queen and so forth. But, you know, there is, and we talked about it, there is a small movement about what do we need royalty for at all. But, by the way, we are covering it, Diane Sawyer and I, co-anchoring from 4 a.m. You want to get up? With the difference in time from 4 a.m. all day long, including here.
We're doing a live show for it.
Nobody does a wedding like the glass coaches, the horses, the whole shebang.
But you said they're really in love, and I love the process. I love knowing all the information.
They always say they're in love. I hate to be a cynic. I don't know if they're really in love. You never know.
When you read about them,
matter. They're getting married, and there ain't nothing anybody can do about it. And there's a king and a queen and a princess, and, you know, God bless them, child. Yeah. God bless them. And we'll be right back with Robin Williams.
95 million Americans suffer with digestive problems like acid reflux, ulcers, and irritable bowel syndrome. So we're finding out which foods are the worst for our digestion and why even the way we cook a meal makes a big difference from Dr. Stephen Lamb. Welcome back. We love when you're here. You take good care of us, so let's get basics in here. How do we actually digest food, and then what happens immediately after we eat something?
Well, it's critical, obviously, to digest, and Mark Twain said this, that humans, you know, eat, but it's divine to digest it. You need to break down the foods in order to absorb them. You put something in your mouth, you've got to chew it. You know, that starts the digestive process. You know, now the esophagus is a muscle. It drives the food down into your stomach where the real process starts. In the stomach, you get the acid, the enzymes, and they're breaking down the carbs and fats and proteins into smaller components. But it's actually in the small intestine, which comes later, that all of this stuff gets absorbed.
Sure.
Okay, that's
if you don't
normal.
absorb it, if you don't absorb your food, you can't be well.
It comes back.
Which is like for someone like me with celiac disease and had malabsorption, I wasn't getting the nutrients I needed.
We have
until I stopped.
malabsorption and maldigestion.
Okay.
You know, that's the problem. And what's amazing to me is how intelligent people know so little, for example, about the liver, which is the major detoxifying organ. It's the largest solid organ in the body. It's how you deal with all kinds of toxins and drugs and medication. It's not just about alcohol.
So what if you don't digest?
If you don't digest, you don't absorb. If you don't absorb, you know, none of these nutrients get into your body and you die.
Okay,
The single greatest determinant of how healthy you are is the nutrient value of the food and your ability to digest them.
Okay, so are we better cooking food or raw food?
Okay, raw foods have enzymes in them. See, the enzymes are the catalyst. It's like the oil to gasoline. You need these enzymes. Raw foods actually contain the enzymes within them, so it's easier to digest them. As we get older, we lose some of these digestive enzymes that are produced primarily in
more raw food if you can.
More raw foods and less cooked foods, and even the temperature.
Salmonella in raw foods.
Well, you know, there's a balance. There's a balance.
Yeah.
The problem is our foods are processed as refined. We only absorb 30 to 40% of the nutrients in any of the foods we eat.
What What about the reason why we're not digesting food properly? Because technically our body should be doing this,
Yeah,
but
technically, but
not
here's
happening.
the reality is the following. The foods are, if you ate foods that were produced 150 years ago, maybe we could digest them more easily. With the refinement, with the processing, with the plant, God, what's in the food is amazing.
It's not
Plus, as
recognizable?
we get older, right, we can't break them down. Plus, we reduce the amount of enzymes that our intestines and our pancreas produce over time. And that's why these, these enzyme supplements, for example, are really terrific.
But I don't eat processed foods, and I have acid reflux.
Right, because acid reflux is once again, it's a process of aging, also weight issues, and the food. Certain foods, for example.
So I'm old and fat. I guess that's why I got it.
Okay,
No, it's very common.
But you get heartburn, you get acid reflux. Okay.
Those are the top
But
symptoms.
what are the foods? I mean, some of these have to be cooked.
Right.
What are
for
the
example,
foods that we
mint
should
and
avoid?
chocolate, interestingly, for people who have reflux, it just keeps that sphincter open, that barrier
So
between
we
the...
shouldn't eat chocolate? I thought
Yeah, it
a
is,
piece
but
of
if you have
chocolate a
GERD,
day is
but if you
supposed
have
to be-
severe GERD, this
GERD.
reflux of acid into your stomach, is probably not a great idea.
I want to back up. GERD is one of the problems that people face commonly. What are some others? We talked
Well,
about.
irritable bowel syndrome,
Sure.
gas
What does that
cramps.
mean? Because I
Irritable
always
bowel-
see a
Move my
bowel
stomach
going,
Okay.
I'm not doing anything.
If you have it, if you have it, you know. In other
irritable
words,
leg
you eat
syndrome,
pasta,
too.
you have bread, and all of a sudden you feel bloated and gaseous and you're uncomfortable.
Right.
That's because, there's a lot of gases produced by bacteria in your colon from undigested pasta and bread.
And I would also say some people are wrongly diagnosed with IBS when in fact it could be
You're scaring
celiac
everyone to
disease.
death.
That was me for 10
That's
years.
a
So
specific
Okay, so it's
gluten
also
sensitivity.
heartburn,
Heartburn,
and it's the food
reflux,
coming out, reflux.
and remember, for example, Joy presented with GERD with a little cough or with a little bit of hoarseness in her voice. It's not necessarily the sense of acidity. It's the most common condition that we now face because of weight and the nature of our foods, the
tell
lack
us
of
what-
enzymes.
Tell us what I mean, I always thought a piece of chocolate a day is supposed to be very good. You're saying no. Tomatoes?
No. No, I'm saying the bottom line is there are certain people who are more sensitive. Most people, as they get older, are more sensitive to the starches because they all contain, a sugar. From broccoli to potatoes to bread, they all
broccoli's a
have
starch?
Yeah, well, there are sugars in them. Okay, and so they may be harder to break down. The body doesn't have the
avoid
enzymes.
broccoli, avoid-
Well, you can eat this. It's just a matter of the amounts. It's a matter of quantity.
I just want to go through the foods because you got
quantity.
common. So broccoli, which we're here, is
It's
very
great.
healthy.
It is great,
this
but a lot
one's
of people, when they eat broccoli, they eat onions, will complain of gases and
So
some
they
bloating.
should go easy on
They
the
can,
broccoli.
or they take one of these digestive enzymes.
Okay. And tomatoes? I thought, we all eat tomatoes.
There is, but if you have the acidity in them, can sometimes make GERD worse.
So avoid tomatoes.
So
No,
each of these
reduce the
problems has-
amount.
Can I ask you
That
this?
leaves
Because
out a
some
lot of
people,
Italian food, tomatoes, tomato sauce.
Sure. Some people take enzymes.
Right.
Does your body then become lazy and not produce
the
enzymes if
body's
you're
already
taking too
becoming
many
the
enzymes?
body's getting worn down. We produce less and less enzymes. So, for example, I'll take enzymes almost whenever I eat.
It's ice water. No good?
Well, the enzymes will function under an ideal temperature, and ice and cold can actually reduce the efficiency of some of these enzymes. That's why you hear a lot of people drink sort of a hot tea with lemon in the morning.
What about,
it helps to digest
that's
the
better.
process.
What
Yeah.
about late night eating? Not
But,
good,
so
right?
The problem is that the food stays in your stomach for about, let's say, an hour to 2 hours. It stays in your intestine for about 2 to 5 hours.
And then
your
where does it
colon,
go?
well, then it goes into your colon and can stay there for 72 hours. If you eat late at night, the food is still in your stomach. So you're lying down, and then the food starts going up.
So
and
give us a bottom line about what we should do and
eat more
avoid.
raw foods. Do not eat very late at night. Chew your food. Okay, and use digestive enzymes and use probiotics.
And don't lie
What about
down
the
after you
milk?
eat.
There was something
milk.
about
Oh my
milk?
God! The number of people who have. First of all, we're the only species that actually drinks somebody else's milk, which is crazy. And we start drinking milk after we're being weaned. I mean, the lactose we
will
can't
hear from the
digest.
milk industry.
We can't digest it.
I actually enjoy it, but
I can't eat
Dr.
yogurt
Liam,
either?
we absolutely adore you. You take such good care of us. We will be right back.
We had a great time. We hope you did too. Take a little time to enjoy your view. It was a poem.